again. This time I'm going to we've dealt with most of the upward wheel and the downward wheel and how they relate to each other. And this time around I wanted to deal with the adding the obiani back into some of these things. Now if you recall from part 1 and part 2, the obiani was like this in downward wheel, that third beat behind the back, being careful not to get our hands stuck behind our back because that's a dead end. And for the upward wheeled, it was like that, moving or manipulating the blade sort of in front of the body and then behind the body. Alright, so if that's our obiani, backwards and forwards, how does that, last tutorial I talked a little bit about moving with the blade. Just basically getting a feel for walking without cutting your legs off. So the obiani works in this because if you notice, when I do that spin, when I do that obiani last third spin and I pull my arm out here, I find myself in a really good position from here to be able to go straight over here into the upward wheel. Now that is basically a plum flower. Okay, a plum flower spin is from the downward wheel, the obiani. We use that as our 6 o'clock beat. We go into the upward wheel on this side, and then we usually skip the 12 o'clock beat and just pull straight over. Okay, so it's a little bit of a modification on the clock face that I was showing you last time. Okay, so the obiani to the upward wheel to the downward wheel, and we can continue there. We can make that continuous. Obiani, upward wheeled, obiani, upward wheeled. Okay, and this is a basic plum flower. Alright, so adding that obiani into the mix, the other thing that I wanted to cover today, I'll cover the inverted plum flower in a later one because that one's a little bit more complicated. But the other thing I wanted to deal with was moving with the regular obiani. If I'm walking and I throw that obiani, I can turn around with it, walk the other direction into an upward wheel. Okay, we'll deal with the upward obiani in a moment, or in a later video, but if I'm in the upward wheel and I want to turn back into the downward wheel, I just hit that 12 o'clock time. Okay, but again, obiani and then turn. The trick with this is that we got to throw the obiani first and then use that last motion of it to make the turn. Otherwise we end up tying up our legs. So obiani spin, then turn. Okay, that's going to be important with the inverted. So just get a feel for that. Walking, turning, walking, turning, with the obiani and without. And then just practice the plum flower. Now I find that the plum flower is actually very handy as well for stretching out your back and limbering up your shoulders. Get that down so that you can practice it with both hands. Because if you do intend to go into any of the dual-wheeled stuff that we'll be dealing with later, you're going to want to know each one of these moves just as well with both hands. So hopefully that's been of help. Practice the plum flowers, walk around with them, and I will see you next time.